A proud supporter of this program, Riverbend Food Bank's vision is a hunger-free Iowa and Illinois.
Whelan Presley Funeral Home and Crematory has been serving Quad City families since 1889. Whelan Presley Funeral Homes are located in Rock Island, Milan, and Reynolds and are proud supporters of WQPT.
The Mississippi River is back in its banks in the Quad Cities, but the problems of the flood of 2019 have not fully receded, and marking a half-century helping the disabled thrive in the cities. The Handicapped Development Center has spent the past 50 years being an invaluable resource to the thousands of people who are impacted by disabilities, but are not giving up. Marking a milestone for the organization, and where do we go from here? We'll talk about that in a moment, but first, a flood mess. I'm not talking about the silt and debris left behind from the flooded Mississippi. I'm talking about the hard feelings among downtown business owners toward the city they are helping to revive. This week, a new group called the Davenport Downtown Business Coalition issued an open letter calling for a greater say in future flood protections, a better relationship with city leaders, answers to just what went wrong with the flood protections in the city, and more cooperation for rebuilding and restoration ahead. And joining us are two business leaders who are helping form this coalition right now. Dan Bush, who owns Analog Arcade Bar, Armored Gardens, and the Raccoon Motel, and Dylan Steil, the owner of Rome Brasserie Lounge, Bar, and Moto Cafe. I'm so bad at French.
Everyone does it. It's all right.
I apologize for that.
It's all right.
You are not back in business, and you're not sure if you're going to be.
No. We're just we're in a holding pattern right now. There's a lot up in the air. We're doing everything we can to make sure that we do go back in business. Again, we're kind of at that point though where our future isn't really in our hands at the moment. It's in the hands of some others, so that's where we're at.
You also are in possession of the video that is now iconic when it comes to this flood. Your surveillance camera was the one that recorded the breach as it happened on that day in April.
Yeah, so that was a crazy moment. What had happened is the flood hit, we were downtown, and then my brother got on the app. We have an app for our security system, and he goes, "Dylan, the power's still on. We can see inside the building." So at that point, we called the company that installed the cameras and asked if they could start remote downloading, because we didn't know how high the water was going to come up. We didn't know if the hard drives would get ruined. So that image came off of a remote download that we were able to get before Mid-American cut the power, and we were really fortunate to get it.
What's interesting is that the day before, HESCO, the company HESCO, had an inspector there who was saying that they believe that the barrier didn't fail. Instead, perhaps it was eaten from underneath. Without that video, that may have stayed as fact.
Yeah, possibly. Again, we're not experts in that. We have the video. We've analyzed it ourselves, but I'm not a river expert. I'm not a current expert, and I'm definitely not a HESCO expert.
You're becoming more of one, though, right?
Something like that. I think it's what do we say? We're hobbyists. We're hobby enthusiast HESCO experts.
Well, Daniel, I mean, you're one of the big people that has really pushed for this coalition. What are you hoping that it does?
Well, really, I think it was just a good opportunity for us all to get in a room together as business owners of downtown who have invested quite a bit in bringing back a downtown that used to struggle. And getting in the room together and just sharing information and figuring out where we go from here. We think the best advocates in this situation is ourselves at this point. So we think it's a really positive thing that we're finally together.
You say the best advocates are yourselves. You would think that the city would be more of an advocate. And what we've seen from City Administrator Corey Spiegel's letter and from some of the aldermen that are in Davenport, there doesn't seem to be that support. It's almost like you guys knew that there would be a risk. You guys have a business there. You know, sorry about this, but this wall wasn't necessarily meant to protect you.
Yeah, you know, it's funny when we're moving into downtown, they're encouraging us to invest in their buildings and you know, cheer us on when we were doing it. And in the result of the flood, we felt like there hasn't really been that line of communication and support. So that's really why we decided to organize. But ultimately, we're excited. I mean, we're excited to build that relationship with the city. We don't think this is a situation where we need to throw mud at each other. This is just, there was an open letter. We decided to respond, and that was, the idea was to spark a conversation.
But Dylan, I mean, you've invested blood, sweat, tears, and let's be honest, a lot of dollars in Rome, and now does it give you pause, even if insurance pays for everything to reinvest in the downtown?
You know, currently as it stands, yeah, there's a little bit of pause in our lives. But again, like Dan was saying, this was an opportunity for us to reach out and say, hey, let's clarify some things. What do you mean by this, and what do you need from us? And so I'm not ruling anything out. I'm not, like you said, we're not trying to throw mud at each other. We just want some clarification on the issues that we've discussed in our letter. We just want that open line of communication, and just so going forward, we know exactly what we are and aren't in for. So that's just the clarification part of it all.
I'm a little surprised that the open communication wasn't existing already. I think that's what a lot of people in the community are going, well, wait a second.
Yeah.
Aren't we all in it together?
Yeah, and we talked about this a little bit as well. You know, it comes from us as well. There hasn't been an open line of communication between downtown businesses and the city for however many years now. And that's, you know, that's not just their fault, not just our fault. And so again, taking this opportunity, this tragic event happened, let's use it, let's make the community better, let's go forward, let's create solutions, not problems.
Well, Dan, I mean, we've got more than, about 20 businesses, but more than 30 business owners or developers that have signed on to this coalition. Was it hard to find them, or was everyone pretty much going, yeah, we got to do something, we got to band together?
I think everybody downtown, you know, was on the same page. I went canvassing for 2 days and got on the phone and called a lot of different business owners, and there was only one business that decided not to sign on. So clearly this is how a lot of people are feeling, and not just the direct people who are hit directly by the flood, but the people indirectly. I mean, when you shut down River Drive, it's very difficult, and when, you know, the media is saying, please don't come downtown, it's too dangerous, it hurt business, and it hurt business really bad.
Well, it hurt business not only, like you said, for the people on River Drive, but let's be honest, for Second and even Third, I would assume. Definitely. I mean, a lot of places downtown felt the pinch.
Yeah, I talked to several business owners, especially in the retail sector, who said they'd never gone a day without a customer, and they've gone several days this summer without a single customer. So that's discouraging. And so what our hope is that we can get everybody's restored confidence in downtown and get people patronizing downtown again.
Has there also been, if you noticed that, I mean, we're talking about the coalition being created, but even before that, there was this rallying among the businesses to make sure that fellow employees, even at competitors, the beer makers were making sure that the product was still being sold. I mean, there just seemed to be a real coming together of these downtown businesses. That had to be somewhat encouraging.
Oh, definitely. And that's what I tell everyone. The silver lining in all of this is the fact that we made the decision to be in the Quad Cities. We love this town, and that was just reinforced by the positivity, the commitment from people who hadn't been affected to help us. It really reemphasized why we made those decisions, and it really felt, it's undescribable.
Yeah.
What happened within 5 minutes of the flood hitting, getting texts, phone calls, what do we need to be doing, what can we sandbag, what can we save? And then even with that, our building was gone, and then it was, hey, there's another building that we can save water from, let's go start sandbagging over there. Everyone dropped what they were doing, and it was immediate action. And I think that's the coolest part of what's come up from this.
That was an amazing afternoon.
I mean, and that's the thing. Some people have said to me, are you afraid of all these bars and restaurants moving to downtown Davenport and cannibalizing your business? I said, absolutely not. I love it. I love that Dylan did what he did because he upped the level of quality in downtown. I mean, it really is a cooperative environment over a competitive one. And what this has done is really brought us closer together. We've all been kind of focused on our own projects, and this gave us a little bit of moment to pause and get to know each other better. So that's really been a positive thing.
Let's talk about moving forward, because one of the things that you said in your letter, an open letter to the citizens of Davenport, but also pretty much a clear letter to the city administration, is that they're almost stifling in some ways your ability to renovate, to reopen, as far as construction codes are concerned, as far as permits are concerned, as far as changes are made after the permit's been approved. Why has that been so frustrating?
Well, it's been frustrating because every day that these businesses are not rebuilding and not getting reopened, it costs them money. And those resources are depleting very quickly. And so what we're trying to do is really kind of light a fire and say, okay, we need to move quickly so that these people can get back to business. And we also need to make sure that while we're dedicated to making safe spaces, we need to make sure that there aren't extra unnecessary monetary expenses that can hurt the process. And finally, when we see that there's finalized plans, they should be final. There shouldn't be change orders after the fact. It's the city's job to really have the departments communicate correctly. And once those plans are finalized, we need to be able to trust that they are final.
Is this like one instance, or are we seeing this over and over again?
We're seeing it with quite a few business owners, and that's why it's a main point in our letter.
That was almost a unanimous one of the unanimous topics besides the flood during our first business meeting was, hey, who else incurred unnecessary expenses after the fact, after the plans have been finalized, during final inspection and such. And so that was just that we thought that was a key fact. Like you said, every day we're not open, monetary expenses, and then on top of that, some of us we have limited budgets, we have limited income, and so when all of a sudden we get a $6,000 expense, 4 days before we're supposed to be opening, we go, where are we supposed to get that money? So it's difficult sometimes.
And also we have over 100 employees who are displaced right now.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so, they're dedicated. I mean, Dylan's staff is dedicated to Dylan and Griffin, and they want to be a part of Rome, and they're kind of holding on to see if they can jump back in.
Yeah, they don't want to move on to another career or another job when they could work at a place they love.
I mean, clearly, he built a culture where they create a very tight-knit community at Rome in only 4 months, and they want to continue to be a part of that community, and Dylan isn't able to move forward, and that's a problem.
And that's what I wanted to underline, is that you didn't have that much bank there. You had just opened. I mean, there are other places that opened or were about to open, but you at least had 4 months under your belt, but that isn't enough for a new business.
No, I call it the perfect storm. We had a polar vortex, so people don't want to go out when it's icy and snowy, which is fine. We still had a really good business when we first were open, and then we went into the HESCOs being placed, which for 45 days before the flood hit, River Drive, my main point of access to our restaurant, was blocked off, and then the flood hit. So we've had just the trifecta this 4 months, which is okay, it's life, but we're looking forward to moving forward.
So explain to me what that means when you say you're looking forward to moving forward.
Moving forward, we're just like I said, we want the answers that we need to move forward. We need the key decision makers to make those decisions, and then we want to move on with our lives. We want to reopen. We want to do everything we can to get our staff back and employed. We had a family there, but again, it's not up to us at the moment.
And you're hearing that over and over again. And some businesses are finding it easier to reopen than others. Either their damage wasn't as bad, or that they were in business a little bit longer and perhaps could suffer through this a little bit longer.
We have some really exciting. So Paradigm has already reopened, Virtual Reality and Esports Center, which is fantastic. If you haven't been there, definitely check it out. We have Lopez Pizza, who was supposed to open the week of the flood, opening up in the next couple weeks, as well as Half Nelson. I don't think Ruby's will be far behind. So again, my hope is that the community at large comes together, comes down and supports these specific businesses to help them get that jump start.
Talk to me about pre-flood. I mean, now there's going to be downtown pre-flood and post-flood, of course. The downtown area of Davenport, people were really getting excited about it before this happened. And I know that you want that back, and it's going to grow and be even better, but it was really a huge renaissance that's going on, and then this happens right in the midst of it.
Well, I think when I moved back from college, a little over a decade ago, downtown was a ghost town. We would go over to either uptown or to downtown Rock Island. That's where the places that young people would go out.
Roll up the sidewalks at 5 o'clock.
And I think, the addition of Hotel Blackhawk really changed everything. It was kind of the catalyst that allowed all these other small businesses to open up around it and create a culture. And I think downtown business goes beyond just brick and mortar, run-of-the-mill bars, restaurants, and retail. These are really interesting concepts, and they're really valuable concepts, and they're high quality, clean, good concepts. And I think that's what made downtown so special, was this group of really unique concepts that came together that were all run by really great people. And so that's what made it fun.
Well, and Dylan, I mean, as it was pointed out in the letter, is that you do have support. I mean, you underline the fact that, the citizens have helped out, other businesses have helped out, and the Chamber of Commerce has tried to be a voice for you as well.
Yeah, everyone's been great. Everyone's been great. And again, to reiterate Dan's point, we don't want the momentum to die. That's one of our big things right now, is we believe in momentum. The reason we started Rome, I should say, is because Dan had done 3 successful concepts before that. He gave us the confidence to keep moving forward. So we're, like Dan's saying, we don't believe that the pie is only so big. We think the pie is infinite. We're all going to help each other out when we become more of a destination location. So what we need to be doing now is we need to restore confidence in the downtown area. We want to grow again, and then that way other people like myself that want to do something have the confidence to come down and help expand on everybody else's dream of having a great, thriving downtown Davenport.
Well, you're going to get a chance to talk to city officials one-on-one this week. It seems odd that it's taken this long for this to happen, of course. What do you hope is accomplished through this meeting?
Again, solutions. We're not looking to throw mud. We just want to move forward. We just want clarification. We just want to have an open line of communication. I think the first step we've talked about is this meeting's about building a relationship. We don't really know them. They don't really know us. We just know each other through passing. And this first meeting is just to get to know each other. Let's get everything out on the table. Decisions don't need to be made right now. Let's take some time to think about it, and let's come back to the table and let's compromise.
And how important is it for the business people, because you've been asking for at least to have 2 members of your coalition to be part of the mayor's task force that he plans on establishing? I mean, how important is it to have this voice?
I think it's extremely important because we are such a key part of downtown. But again, I think, ultimately, to echo Dylan, our goal is to just build a long-term relationship and build a healthy one. And really that relationship is 5 parts. It's the community, it's the business community, it's the Chamber of Commerce, it's City Hall, and it's the city administration. All 5 parts need to be on the same page. And so luckily, those parts are going to meet in the room, and we'll be able to hash some things out.
And the key is to do it quicker.
Absolutely. I think, we put an August 1st deadline of a flood plan in place. And after speaking to a few city officials, they said that deadline may be unrealistic. Our response is there's not a lot of time. People are trying to decide now, as they're working through the insurance adjusters and things like that, whether or not to reinvest in downtown. Now is the time that we need to put something into place to at least show them, here's where the walls are going to be, and here's the specifications in which they're going to be built to protect you.
Dan Bush, Dylan Steil, thanks so much for joining us. Good luck.
Thank you.
Rebuild, we're depending on you. Great time to be downtown, of course, was before this. Hopefully it is once again.
We'll come back.
After this. Thanks so much. They're part of the Davenport Downtown Business Coalition. Now, we are heading full swing into summer, and Laura Adams joins us now with just some of the things you can do in the coming days when you go out and about.
This is Out and About for June 17th to 23rd. Bring the whole family to Mercado on 5th in Moline on Friday the 21st, featuring 17 musicians. Or join the 2nd annual Best of the Worst Sausage competition at the German American Heritage Center on the 22nd. The First Lutheran Church in Rock Island is holding a Folk Arts Fest, a Scandinavian midsummer celebration, while Bishop Hill holds their Midsummer Music Festival at Village Park the 22nd, plus on the 19th, Scandivika perform at the Bishop Hill Colony School. It's time for the 24th annual Kelowna Freedom Celebration Car Show at the Hennepin Canal Parkway on the 22nd, while the QC Theater Workshop is holding a fundraiser at the German American Heritage Center the 23rd. The Generations Band is featured at the Summer Concert Series at Faze Field in Bettendorf. East Moline Main Street Summer Concert Series takes place at Runners Park on the 23rd, and Circa 21 presents the Beatles tribute band The Return on the 20th. Broadway Theater at the Adler present Kinky Boots June 19th. Little Women the musical opens at the Black Box Theater in downtown Moline on the 20th. Quad City Music Guild presents Disney's Beauty and the Beast through the 22nd, while Neil Simon's comedy Biloxi Blues is presented by the Mississippi Bend Players at the Bruner Theater closing the 23rd. For more information, visit wqpt.org.
Thank you, Laura. For 50 years, the Handicapped Development Center has been the clearinghouse that helps citizens with disabilities live a fuller life. Over the course of those 5 decades, the organization has seen a sea change in the public's perception of not only the disabled, but actually what a disability means. And joining us is the president of the Handicapped Development Center, Jeff Ashcraft, as well as the vice president of Resource Development, Carol Foster. Congratulations to both of you for an anniversary that's well deserved.
Thank you.
50 years. We were talking about the fact that the Americans with Disability Act was first enacted in 1990. You were around 20 years before that.
We were. As we were talking about, I think we were ahead of the curve. The folks who started HDC back in 1969 really wanted to make sure that the people that we serve, the population that we serve, were not just hidden away in basements, that they were actually taken care of and that they were integrated in the community because they so enrich the community in which we all live. And so they were trying to take down those barriers that the ADA intended to take out 20 years later.
Right, exactly. And has it been a huge difference for the Handicapped Development Center that now, since we were talking about it with the ADA, it's codified, there's protections there, and that you just build off that?
Sure. I mean, from a legal perspective, for sure, and we've been able to build off that. I mean, the ADA took away discriminatory functions from people with disabilities in transportation, in technology, in housing, in all sorts of areas in their lives that you and I take for granted. And by having the act go into play in 1990, it just made it a lot easier for us to accomplish our mission and to help integrate our participants into the Quad Cities community on a much easier basis.
And Carol, as Jeff said, participants. I mean, the key is not to make some stigma involved here. I mean, just the normalization, so to speak, of every citizen in our community is pretty much what Handicapped Development Center does as well.
Yep, that's pretty much what we're all about. And we all have a normal progression of life where we get a job, we move out of our family's homes, and we at HDC help people do that. So we help people find jobs, we help people earn a paycheck, we help people be successful in wherever they want to live. And so that's basically what we do.
And I want to talk more about that, but I also want to talk about the caregivers for the people that are disabled, because I mean there is help for them as well. The Handicapped Development Center is offering help not only for the person who is disabled, but the people that are supporting them as well.
Sure, whenever you're helping somebody in the family, that helps the rest of the family as well. So we have programs where we can go into families' homes and assist the individual while the family takes a break and maybe goes wash their car, or something that we take for granted every day that we can do, but they don't always have that ability to do that because they're 24 hours, they're taking care of that individual that lives in their family. But even when they become adults and we start serving them as an adult, that's still helping the family because it's relieving them from that responsibility, and now we can help them be successful in whatever it is that they want to do. So it's a lifelong commitment.
And Jeff, I mean, really underlining this is that you're so, you find it so important for housing as well as vocation. For the handicapped. And tell me a little bit about, let's start with the housing. I mean, it's critically important as far as independence is concerned.
Oh, absolutely. And we run a couple of different residential programs at HDC. One of the programs that we run is the one that's the most invisible. People will say to us all the time, we didn't know you do that. And that is supported community living, where we are actually helping individuals with disabilities find a place to live, oftentimes with roommates, out in the community, basically on their own. Now we go in to provide supports to make sure that they're taking their medications, that they're shopping, cooking, making sure they're doing their laundry and things like that, keeping them safe. But they're living in the community just like you and I would, and that makes, again, our community so much richer. So that's a huge program that people don't realize that we offer, and it's a huge benefit to people with disabilities who want that sort of lifestyle that, again, we take for granted. Then we provide other residential programs as well. We have a residential center for people who are, maybe they're retired, maybe their disabilities are so profoundly debilitating that that they need 24/7 support. And so we have a residential center and group homes that provide varying levels of support depending on what that individual needs.
And the independence also comes with a job, Carol. I mean, there's so many different ways that people always say, you know what, the job defines them, and in some ways you don't want that, but it is absolutely true for everyone.
Sure.
And for a person to be disabled, not to have a job just kind of inhibits them even more.
Sure, I mean, we all love to get paid, right? And we find a lot of self-satisfaction for what we do, and people with disabilities are no different. So at HDC, we're able to provide that for them. So sometimes it's fine. It's working actually at HDC. We have a workshop and opportunities there, and they earn that paycheck. If you're ever having a bad day, come out on a Friday afternoon and watch people get their paychecks, and they feel a sense of pride because they're doing real work. And they'll go out into the community and they'll see something that they packaged, or they see John Deere, which we work with, and they're like, oh, I did that, I was part of that. And there's a lot of pride that's associated with that. And if they find a job out in the community and they're working at a fast food place and they're like, hey, I work there, and there's really a lot of pride in that and a lot of self-satisfaction. And then they take those paychecks and then they use those paychecks out in the community, so they become consumers, they pay their rent and all of that. So it's just part of what we all do, and they get to be a part of that too.
Well, and I know that you also keep pointing out to potential employers is that this is a dependable workforce as well. Absolutely.
We have a very dedicated workforce and a large workforce that's just ready and willing to do the jobs. So it's, if there's something that an employer is having a difficult time finding workers in their business, we might be able to help out with that.
And as we said at the beginning of the program, Jeff, you really are a clearinghouse. I mean, you're trying to break down those barriers between either housing or employment and people that are willing to live in areas as well as work in areas.
Absolutely. It's sort of a one-stop shop for people with disabilities where they can come to us for their residential needs, their personal needs, and also their employment needs as well. And we'll do everything we can to try to support them, to help them to succeed, to help them to achieve, to help them to grow, and to help them be happy. That's our mission.
We're looking back at 50 years for Handicapped Development Center. You, of course, are in charge of looking forward to the future, the next 10 years and beyond. What do you see for the future of HDC, and what programs are still so important for our community?
Honestly, Jim, all of our programs that we operate right now are very, very, very important. Again, if we don't have employment and residential programs, what happens with these populations? But it's an ever-changing landscape for us, so it always depends on what's happening with Medicaid or what's happening with the managed care system in the state of Iowa, where we have to be flexible and be responsive to not only the needs of our participants and residents, but also what's going on within our government. But beyond that is sustainability. We really want to make sure that we are doing everything we can to not be totally reliant on funding through Medicaid, but to also try to do everything we can to generate revenue to sustain ourselves and grow additional programs. We've got populations out there who need services that we're not offering now, younger populations, older populations. Can we grow our services to start to meet the needs of those individuals, in addition to individuals who are on our waiting list right now?
Well, and Carol, 50 years, it's time to celebrate. And HDC is going to have an open house. Tell me a little bit about that, because that's coming up next Thursday.
Right, it's next Thursday. It's at our Hickory Grove Road location, which is our main location. And it's just an opportunity for us to invite the community in and say, hey, thank you, because without the support of the community, we wouldn't be here. And so people can take tours and have a bite to eat and see our programs in operation. So we are kind of shifting people around a little bit, so they're actually going to see people working and doing day hab and the different programs that we operate. So taking a tour and giving us a chance to say thank you. So we're inviting everybody to come, bring your family, your friends, whoever you would like, and we will entertain you for the evening. Because
outreach is so important. I mean, I know you want to be somewhat behind the scenes and helping people, but you also want to be in front and let people know, hey, we've got these great people that could really help your business or help your neighborhood.
Right, and we want people to understand that we are grateful for what they have done for us over the 50 years. So again, it gives us an opportunity to say thanks and for them to see what they've been supporting, because a lot of people, well, they know about us and they've maybe heard about us, but they haven't actually come and visited us. And every time we give a tour, people will say, oh, I didn't realize how much you guys do, or I didn't realize how big this building is, and those kinds of things. They always learn something. Even people that have been out there before, every time they come, they learn something new. So I think this is a great opportunity for people to view what they have been supporting for 50 years.
Carol Foster, Jeff Ashcraft, both from Handicapped Development Center, thank you for joining us. Happy 50th anniversary.
Thank you.
Good luck with the open house as well. Once again, that open house is at the center's Hickory Grove facility in Davenport. It's coming up Thursday from 2 in the afternoon until 7. WQPT is doing its part to support the military men and women in the cities who are serving our nation. We call it Embracing the Military. And the Summer Reading Adventure, sponsored by the Army Community Service and the Rock Island Family and MWR, will continue next week on Arsenal Island. Parents can keep kids reading all summer long by coming to the reading adventure that's open to all ages. Next Thursday's adventure will explore history with a tour of the Arsenal Museum as well. Contact Army Community Service for details and to register. On the air, on the radio, on the web, and on your mobile device, thanks for taking some time to join us as we talk about the issues on the cities.
A proud supporter of this program, Riverbend Food Bank's vision is a hunger-free Iowa and Illinois.
Whelan Presley Funeral Home and Crematory has been serving Quad City families since 1889. Whelan Presley Funeral Homes are located in Rock Island, Milan, and Reynolds and are proud supporters of WQPT.